Thanks so much for being here. This is the future of social TV. My name is Christina Warren, and I am Mashable's entertainment editor, and I'm ecstatic about being on this panel today. I'm joined by Alex Iskold, who is the founder and CEO of GetGlue. GetGlue is a social check-in service for the web, iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry, and it lets fans check into TV shows, movies, music, books, and earn stickers based on their participation, and it's a great barometer for social TV. I'm also joined by Tom Tighe. Tom is the VP of Marketing and Business Development at Bluefin Labs. And with its Bluefin Signals dashboard, Bluefin offers advertisers, marketers, and TV networks insights into social media responses to TV. This is a really competitive space right now, but Bluefin really stands out from the crowd. And I'm also joined by Jesse Redniss, who's the Vice President of Digital for USA Network. And USA is home to hit shows like Psych and Burn Notice and White Collar. And they've been a leader in the social TV space in social conversations with second screen apps and the social chatter platform that they use for across their line of programming. So I'm very pleased to have all of you with me today. And we just want to go around if you want to kind of share some thoughts about social TV, and then we can kind of get started in the panel.
Sure. Thanks for having me. It's a really exciting time, I think, for social TV. GetGlue is a check-in service that connects people around their favorite TV shows and enables fans to chat and share their thoughts while the shows are on. There's also lots of cool things happening on the service, from people getting suggestions for new content that they may enjoy, and also unlocking unique rewards from a whole bunch of different networks. So you know, the service has been growing quite a lot, and I'm really excited to be on this panel.
Hey everyone, my name is Tom Tighe, and like Christina said, Bluefin, we are a data and analytics service for social TV. So what that means is we provide measurement of this space to the business community, so agencies, brands, and TV networks. And like Alex said, this space is growing, and through the work of people like Alex and GetGlue, and actually the TV networks like Jesse and USA Network, it's been driving a lot of consumer activity around using social when they watch TV, and we measure all that.
Yeah. And you know, the idea of social television has always been around. Now we're just looking at new platforms and new kind of research and data analytics platforms to look at what's really happening from the technical side. So I think it's really interesting to see how we're melding old world conversation flows into new technology and measurement tools. So really excited to be here. Thanks.
So before we kind of get into talking about the future of social TV, and this was something that Jesse, I think, had actually mentioned when we were talking earlier, and I think it's important that we understand the difference between social mentions and social conversations and deeper levels of social integration as far as social TV is concerned. So I wanted to know if maybe you guys could speak a little bit about the differences between what we know about social TV now and some of the more broad and more intricate social TV experiences that we can see coming upon in the future.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a whole bunch of aspects to the social TV. You know, there's sort of the first aspect is just simple conversations, so people are discussing the shows that are happening, and that's obviously social. I think another dimension, and I think Jesse is probably going to speak to this, is sort of what does it mean to weave the social dimension into the show, and I think that's pretty incredible and interesting. And I think the third part would be interactive TV. So what are all possibilities, what are all the things that could be happening while you're watching TV on the second screen, and I think there's a social dimension to those things as well.
Yeah, I think when you hear the term social television, a lot of people are only focusing on the conversation that's happening right before, during, or right after the linear broadcast. You know, when we're looking at social television in general, there are a lot of very cool things that are happening. Going back to, looking at what happened with Lost and Carlton Cuse. Think about what happened with the Lost campaign if it happened when Facebook and Twitter, if they were there. When Carlton was doing these amazing deep content experiences that were tied into story arcs and character building. That's actually happening now with a lot of the different programs we see on television, from The Walking Dead to Dexter to some of the programs we have on USA and even on reality shows. So it's how are you leveraging social platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, to actually use those platforms as digital storytelling mechanisms? How can they become real time? How are you drawing in the consumer and the user into that experience and telling your story in a different way. I think that's one of the things that's kind of getting ignored right now about social television that is really going to start blowing up over the next year or so.
And I think you make an excellent point, and I do think that it does tend to be ignored, but I think part of the reason it's not as much of a focus is, A, it's a lot more work, and B, it's really difficult to try to track and see the actual impact of that. And so, I think that most of us would agree that the end goal for social TV is to increase TV viewership, and that's what most networks want. That's what, the goal for advertisers to figure out. We want to increase TV viewership, and there are various studies that have shown that. But I want to ask you, Tom, for what Jesse's speaking about in these deeper campaigns that can be interweaved beyond just the before, after, and during aspects of the conversation. From a measurement standpoint, how do you capture that sort of data, and how can you, I guess, maybe weight certain types of behaviors, give them better priority over others, so when it comes to crafting this analytics and giving this information back to advertisers and brands and networks?
Yeah, actually kind of go off script and address something that you said before the question. Which is, I think everyone will agree that for social to drive additional tune-in is a good thing, and we want to get there. But I actually would disagree with the fact that that's the only thing, because what we're seeing now, especially the work that we do with TV networks, is that independent of having a solid measure that social drives tune-in, networks see value in social conversation, because what their sales force is doing is they're going out there and they're going to talk to the media buyers, and they're saying, hey, we'll deliver you eyeballs as we always have. But now we're going to deliver to you social engagement. So it already has a value. And that value is the CPM premiums that they're asking for. So we're already seeing kind of like the social activity providing value for TV networks. So to your question on measurement, I think there are probably three levels. The first level, where everyone is at right now, is measuring volume of conversation. So my show had 50,000 tweets during the episode. That's level one. Everyone does it. We see two additional levels that kind of like we could do in the short term. Number one is what? Number two is what are they saying? So the nice thing about social media is that you have their conversation to measure kind of like what are the plot themes? What are the characters that most resonate with audiences? And number three, it's who's saying it. So are your comments coming from moms? Or if you're trying to reach a techie crowd, are they coming from Android users? Things like that. So we see three levels: how much, what they're saying, and also who's saying it.
And so let me ask, for all three of you, more on the measurement side, Tom, what are the primary networks that you guys measure at Bluefin in terms of social activity?
Oh, social? Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, TV fan forums in the blogosphere, check-in services like GetGlue.
Great, and because this was an interesting conversation we were kind of having backstage, which is that there are other platforms that exist that don't end up getting measured. Like Jesse, USA has a very active, social chatter platform, and they have, as well as their plugins through their check-ins through GetGlue, and there are some types of. It's great that you monitor GetGlue interactions, but not all social monitoring services do. So how do you, are there plans to increase your listening tools so that you can have a more robust way of delivering the metrics? And for, on the network side, how valuable is the data when you are only potentially getting a sampling from Facebook and Twitter and not necessarily all the other services that are out there in terms of engagement?
Which one do you want to answer first?
Whoever's free to answer. So, Tom, I guess.
Yeah, just quick question. Just a quick one for me. The way that we think about our measurement platform is that as comprehensive as it can be, we'd like to get it there. Certainly, we don't get the full universe of social conversations today. But we think of it actually very similar to search engines. Like Google, one of their main things, the reason why they're a good search engine is because Google spends a whole lot of time making sure that their index is comprehensive. So that's how we think of our information. So we want to get at all the data. We don't today, but we want to. We're working on it.
Yeah, we definitely understand that. What we're doing on the Chatter platform is we're creating an environment, a fan participation environment on our own sites and our own apps. And while we can drive, 30, 40,000 people during a specific episode, there's a good percentage of those people that are not actually logging in with Facebook or Twitter, so it's not reflected in the reporting. So what we're essentially doing is handicapping ourselves in the social standings. But for us, we know it's happening, and we are talking to Bluefin and to Trender about taking that API and putting it into their system so that it is properly reflecting all of the social conversation happening. But for us, we want to get as much data as we possibly can. It really is looking at all these different funnels and inputs. It's really a crowdsourcing opportunity to really hear the voice of the viewer and the user in real time. One of the things about scripted programming is that there's very little you can actually affect after the fact, but there's some ways that we can take real-time feedback and change what we're doing to market, to promote, scheduling, timing, and actually some of the creative that we're doing in the show is being updated and changed in real time based on that feedback. So we're looking at everything from volume to sentiment to character likes and dislikes and story arcs, and that's permeating through the writing process, through the marketing campaigns that we do, and then how we move forward on matching certain shows against different shows when we do scheduling as well.
And so, Alex, since you're on, kind of the engagement side and the check-in side, what are some of the differences and some of the changes that you've seen over the past year in terms of how people are checking into content and how they're interacting with content and what sorts of conversations they're having around that content?
Well, I think we're just seeing by far bigger volume of check-ins and just more people are enthusiastic about doing this and sort of checking in and sharing what they're consuming. The thing that we've been specifically focusing on over the past I want to say 6 months is bringing to the spotlight the actual conversations that are happening. And it's actually a harder problem than it might seem because there's a lot of shouting and there's a lot of noise. But how do you surface relevant conversation to a specific fan who checked in? I mean, obviously you want to see your friends, but that's not all. You also want to be able to connect with other fans who are watching in real time. And how do you do that in a way that's meaningful? So we've basically chose a filtering approach where we trim the stream of check-ins and tweets that users see to just surface something that we deem to be high quality. And we've seen pretty incredible lifts in engagement. We're seeing people interacting with strangers and sort of this is really interesting notion of these spontaneous connections and small world networks forming around every show and every episode on the fly, and people don't necessarily follow each other afterwards, but they're connected in the moment. So we think that that's totally fascinating.
That's very cool. So, a lot of times we can't have a conversation about social TV without talking about some of the most social shows on TV and also some of the most social genres on TV. And Tom actually pulled some interesting data for us from Bluefin. And Tom, I wanted to know if maybe you could speak to some of those stats. And Alex and Jesse, if you could comment and see if that backs up what you're also seeing on your platforms and on your network.
Yeah, sure. I hope I remember them.
I've got them written down in case you don't. And I mean, for instance, one of the things you pointed out was that when you look at the top 150 television series for the season, it's pretty evenly split across genres. 37% of the top 150 TV shows for social are dramas, 29% are reality, 22% are comedy, and then 10% are talk and news shows. So what you were saying before is that consumers are using social TV more, and that certainly goes to what Alex was saying. But it's interesting to me that a lot of the conversation I see online is about reality shows and also about sports. Yet drama is 37%.
Yeah, that for us is a new dynamic that we've seen, basically starting this TV season, which began September 12th or 19th, whichever one you want to count. And, I'm so glad the new TV season has come because it's delivered to us new shows and the returning shows, kind of like new episodes of the returning shows. At Bluefin, as data geeks, we were all over the data. And during the summer, as there was more and more attention paid to the social TV world, we were stuck with the summer show. So Jersey Shore was #1 basically every single day and every single week. And that was obvious to everyone. So it was no new news. So we were so glad that the new TV season came so we can take a look at data from new shows, right? And this time last year, it certainly would have been the case that shows like Jersey Shore, American Idol, sporting events would have been, the shows that drove practically, the majority of conversation in social TV. And so the surprise for us, Ashley, was to see so many dramas perform so strongly this year. And it really is showing a maturation of the space in that it's becoming more mainstream. It's not totally mainstream in that not everyone's grandmother is doing it. But the fact that people are commenting on very serious shows like Law & Order SVU, Fringe, those types of things, and comedies are doing really well. So it's becoming much more mainstream.
And Jesse, as a network that airs a lot of dramas, and you guys have some comedies as well, but does this data kind of reaffirm the position that you've taken with investing in social and having more socially engaged audiences?
Absolutely. I mean, I would argue that there's a lot more to TV than just the broadcast networks, especially since we had 7 great hit shows during the summer. But we are definitely looking to leverage all the different social media platforms to start the conversation flows around those shows. A lot of procedurals do really, really well because there's mystery and intrigue, and people are in the aha moments or the oh my god moments. It's really great to see that and see how the users and viewers are responding to those aspects of shows. And on the reality side, there's a lot of things that happen in reality shows that we wish could happen in the linear aspects. But it's really great to be able to learn from both. Coming from NBC Universal, we've got Oxygen and Bravo, who have a ton of reality-based shows and are really killing it in the social space. And here, Sci-Fi USA, mostly scripted, we're learning a lot of things based on what both sides of the street are doing in order to kind of instigate all that engagement on the social platforms.
So, one of the things I think is interesting, especially when we take a look at the future of social TV, is to look at what some of the most successful and innovative campaigns have been. And one that I actually do want to highlight, and I would highlight this even if Jesse wasn't sitting right here, genuinely, was a campaign that's still ongoing for Psych, #Killer. And if you're not familiar with this, this is actually a pretty innovative and a pretty intricate social campaign. It started a few weeks before the season 6. Is it season 6?
Season 6.
Before the 6th season of Psych premiered, and it's a Facebook game that takes place. It was written by the show writers. Basically, the equivalent of a full episode, almost the equivalent of a full episode of video was shot for this game that unfolded on a weekly basis that took place over social media. And as fans would engage within conversations as if they were, a member of the Psych team, certain people could get killed off and certain clues are unfolded. And it's been a big hit. And it's really kind of taken engagement, I think, to the next level. The one missing piece, as I pointed out to Jesse, is that conversation isn't necessarily being replicated on the show proper, but you promise that sort of integration is coming in the future.
I can't promise anything.
You can't promise.
I don't know the show.
Right.
But I will push as hard as I can to make it.
But in general, the idea of bringing content that you're accessing online and kind of these mini games and these parallel worlds will then become part of the narrative process. That's the end goal.
That's the end goal, and I think that the writers and producers that we have at USA are so much fun to work with, and I think a lot of them are really starting to understand the power of social and participation and engagement with the users. So the team at Psych, Steve Franks and all the writers there, we had a great time doing this, and I think that they really are seeing the results from it. When you've got 500,000 people have come into the experience with 200,000 people coming in every single week, the idea here is that it's happening in real time. It's not a sit down and experience it once. You're actually in a dialogue situation using social platforms as though you're talking to one of your best friends using IM or on Twitter. So it's a new way for them to expand their storytelling mechanism, and they're really on board with, I think, exploring more ways to see this happen.
And so, Alex, maybe you could talk about some of the GetGlue promotions that you've seen really pop with users, and are there specific types of shows? As Tom's data shows, there's social TV is taking off all over the place, but are there specific types of shows that tend to do really well on GetGlue? And what role can the showrunners and the networks take to increase participation and stickiness? No pun intended. With GetGlue.
Well, the show that took our servers down was The Walking Dead, and the joke around the office was that zombies killed us, and it was very real. Like for 2 minutes we were down.
Wow, so The Walking Dead took down GetGlue servers.
Walking Dead took us down. I mean, we were up, quickly, but
right.
it was interesting. It's pretty incredible. If you look at the show, MC has like a string of hits. I'm a huge fan of Breaking Bad, but zombies is just like a phenomena. People are obsessed with it, and we're seeing incredible strong amount of check-ins on that show. In terms of the highlighting something that was really clever and cool, Fringe ran this campaign that really was pretty amazing. They were giving out props from the show, and so what they've done is for each episode, when you checked in, you unlocked an exclusive sticker that looked like a prop from the show, and then one fan every week would win the actual prop. And fan just went wild because apparently the doomsday machine prints are something that we need, and so somebody did get that. So it was pretty clever. Just in general, we're seeing, I think that every show has an opportunity to really engage with their fans through social channels, not just GetGlue, but of course Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms. Really, all they need to do is invest time. That's my conclusion after kind of looking at this for a bunch of months. People are incredibly enthusiastic about TV, and they're very passionate about their shows. No matter what show you watch, you're into it. So I think that networks, and I think USA has done a phenomenal job with that, can mobilize their diehard fans to promote their shows.
And Tom, maybe you could speak a little bit about some of what Bluefin does in terms of being able to cross back viewers with types of brands they show affinity towards, and some of the different advertising friendly metrics you can get based on users' activity and things they're discussing through check-in services and through social networks.
Yeah. The Bluefin wants to measure social conversation about everything on TV. And so shows are a big part of TV, but sponsors and advertisers are also on TV. So we measure that as well. The production service that we have rolled out today focuses on shows, although we've been, since the beginning of the year, essentially in private pilots with agencies and advertisers themselves to measure the advertising on TV, mostly the commercials, but in some cases also things like sponsorships within shows. So I'll give you an example in the fall when the MTV Music Awards were on. They had a bunch of in-show sponsors who also ran media during the commercial break. So Taco Bell was there, Sharpie was there, Kia Soul was there, Wrigley Gum was there. And then so we can measure kind of like, of all the people who are talking about the brands, which one had a greater share of voice, a greater share of social conversation. It happened to be Taco Bell. Second was Kia Soul. But then we can also measure the sentiment. And even though Taco Bell was first, they actually weren't first in positive sentiment. It was Kia Soul. People love the hamsters. So it drove a lot of conversation, but it also drove kind of like people's connection with the creative that they used. We see that all over the board with the X Factor. Pepsi's an in-show sponsor, and they also run media. And Pepsi did a really smart thing. They ran the nostalgic commercials that were music featured. So Britney was in the commercial, Ray Charles, Michael Jackson. And then we see in social conversation that people really love the commercials. You don't see that a lot, actually, especially with sponsors. Audiences are a little jaded, sometimes a little cynical. But in that particular execution for Pepsi, overwhelmingly positive.
So there's an opportunity, especially with the greater analytics we have for social TV, to maybe bridge, a more natural and less kind of spammy connection between advertisers and the show, creators themselves.
I think so. There's just more data to work with in social, right? Because in traditional measurement, like I said, it's the base level is how much, how many people, reach and frequency, how many people saw your show, how many people saw your commercial. But in social, we can measure how much, and then we can go to that next level. We can measure what they say, and you can use the what they say to inform your show programming, also your media strategy.
So, when we look to the future, what are some of the big things that you're excited for, and what do you see as the biggest opportunities, for networks, for check-in services, and for measurement going forward? So, I guess we'll start with Jesse. What do you think are the biggest opportunities moving forward for social TV from a network perspective?
I mean, for us, one of our main focuses is always on engagement and looking at how we're engaging with users. So with social television and different measurement tools, we can really understand the brand impact, recall, favorability, based on looking at not just an ad, but based on the branded integration. And if you're doing great branded integrations where a client's brand is organically integrated into a show for us, and then that actually has positive spin and has more favorability and more kind of mentions, I guess, in the social space, that's where the real story starts coming out for the client that we're serving. It's not just about, oh, I drove 10,000 users or clicks over to your web property. There's a reason why these advertisers are attaching themselves to certain shows on certain networks. And when you can do a real partnership and bring it multi-platform and show that people are engaging with all that, that's really meaningful. So I think that these measurement tools are going to help reinforce that, and bringing it directly to the agencies is going to help us drive a lot more business doing that.
And Alex, what do you see as the biggest opportunities for social moving forward, and for show producers and for fans even? What are some of the biggest opportunities in social TV?
Well, I think that for foreseeable future for us, like, we're number one mostly excited about the conversation, because this is what we love. This is what we love about TV. We want to talk about the shows that we love, and I think being able to connect with your friends, other fans, and then hopefully in the near future, and that's already starting to happen on GetGlue with directors, actors, and just have a conversation. I think that's sort of really basic, but is probably the most meaningful. And then I think going forward, I'm really excited about the work that is happening in the space where people are saying, well, what else should be happening on the second screen? And we're thinking hard about this. But there's so many awesome opportunities for, I think, first and foremost, relevancy, which we lack in a lot of cases. But I think here we can be very relevant and contextual, like from different video clips to maybe quizzes, polls, what other content people might want, what else might they want to do on the second screen. Maybe some of these stories that Jesse is talking about take place on the second screen. We're very excited about where this is all heading, excited to be part of it.
And Tom?
Well, I mean, we're in the data and measurement space, so we're a bit agnostic, except that the thing that's actually very exciting to me, and I hear it a lot from our clients, that they've been asking us to help them measure and execute, is this notion of social TV campaigns. So not a TV campaign on its own, not a digital campaign on its own, but they're spending TV dollars. So what they want to know is, hey, for the $100 million I spend on TV in a given year, how can I place those spots in the places on TV that will drive the most conversation for my brand? So it's not just about the eyeballs, not just about the reach and frequencies. They still want that.
Right.
They also want, when they get that, they want to optimize it for as much social conversation that they can drive as possible. And that's where networks and shows like Jesse's network and shows will win out, because those are the places where you get the conversation.
Yeah.
So I guess, while we wrap up, the one question I kind of have is, we talk a lot, and as Christy Tanner earlier today kind of expressed, more people are watching live TV and are interacting with social TV in a real-time fashion. And that's great, but more and more content is also being shifted to being watched, whether over DVRs or through streaming services. And as time shifting, I'm not really personally convinced that this lack of time shifting is going to be a permanent trend. So when you're planning a social TV campaign, when you're planning a check-in campaign, and especially when you're looking at measurements, how do you, I guess, handle creating these sorts of campaigns that can be evergreen, or measurements that can exist even when the activity is taking place not in real time, real broadcast time, but at different opportunities based on how the content's being delivered? I guess that's everyone.
It's tough because there's no such thing as a long tail anymore. It's an infinite tail when you're looking at that. And when we're creating content from the network side, we want to create where we've got the biggest mass push and impact, but also enable it so that no matter how you're consuming the media, you can still come into a fantastic experience. So what we're going to do is, of course, develop for the live aspect first, but utilizing services such as Alex's GetGlue to start triggering activities to show that you're now an active participant in the social conversation rather than passive. That's how you can start using that as the mechanism to trigger and move along whatever content experience you're building. So it gets expensive when you start trying to develop 5 or 6 or 7 different ways that users are going to engage with it. But I think technology today is allowing us to do it very quickly, very nimbly, so we don't have to worry about that anymore.
And Alex, what do you see with GetGlue in terms of, do you see a lot of check-ins for shows? I mean, I know I frequently check into reruns. Because I'm watching, Family Guy on comedy, or on Adult Swim, where I'm watching a rerun of another show. So do you think there are opportunities for maybe less new brands to still kind of bubble up and have opportunities to reach out to those fans, even if they're not even on the air anymore, where the parent company or someone else, an advertiser, could get involved with that sort of group?
Yeah, I totally think so. So, what it is about social is it's most magical when it's real time, when it's live, when most of our check-ins are live. Like we're seeing sort of people checking in and chatting with each other. These are the fans who are really excited about the new shows coming on. And I think there's something exclusive and interesting about this, and networks often have exclusive rewards for checking in live. But at the same time, like you said, a lot of people are time shifting, but they're fans and they're loyal, and this is really the key. So our service allows you to identify those fans, even if they're checking in, not during the live broadcast. You can still level up and unlock rewards and then unlock discounts. So this kind of like two notions. One is you get extra reward for checking in live, and the second notion is that you still can unlock rewards and become a fan. So I think those two things are really complementary and work pretty well. But, social needs to be real time. Like if you want a conversation, you got to watch live.
And Tom, what you're measuring is real-time data, but do you think there's still a value for advertisers, even if they're looking at media buys for non-real-time content that they can gauge from the social and from the real-time data from social TV?
Yeah, I think there is. When you're talking about the media buying space, especially the top media agencies, their media investment decisions are extremely sophisticated. So there are opportunities to essentially find undervalued assets there. By the way, we see the same dynamic as Alex, which is not to say that people don't time shift when they watch TV, but it is to say that when people comment about TV, they tend to do it when they're watching live. They tend to do it less when they're not watching live.
Yeah.
Great.
And also, you also think about the way that media buyers are buying the placements on TV now. Everyone's buying on a C3 basis, so they're already buying knowing people are time shifting. So I think we're seeing in the areas of 40% increases when you add in the C3 rating, and then when you look at L7,
right.
It goes up even more so. So that's becoming more of a norm than anything else.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here and for speaking with me. It's been great.
Thank you.